What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Around the Table Sports. So with tonight being the Heisman Trophy ceremony, we really haven't talked too much about it, and it's something we definitely have to get into. But before we do, as always, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I do constant college football content, whether it be film reviews, sit-down analysis like this, you name it, we do it, and we'd love to have you along for the journey. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and comment down below to let me know who you want or who you think should win the Heisman Trophy, because I love interacting with y'all. Also, your likes and comments do a lot to help with a smaller channel like mine catch the YouTube algorithm, and we've had exponential growth on this channel within the past few weeks, and I cannot thank you enough to all the support for those of you that have subscribed, and for those of you that haven't, come along for the journey. Love to have you. So with all that being said, let's jump straight into it. This year is going to be super interesting because COVID effectively turned a college football season on its head, right? So what we thought we knew going into this season kind of got flipped. I think everybody before the season had assumed that a Justin Fields was going to make the Heisman, and he absolutely deserves to be there as far as the caliber quarterback he is, the caliber athlete he is. It's just hard when they only play 5 regular season games when you have other teams out here going through a 10-game schedule that's conference play. That's not a knock on Justin Fields. It's really sad that he wasn't selected because, like I said, talent-wise, the quality quarterback he is, he deserves to be on that stage, and he showed it against Clemson, just how incredibly dominant he is. But the reality of the situation is he is not there, so we have to go off of the 4 guys that were invited. Those 4 being Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, and DeVonta Smith. So first off, I'll kind of go ahead and give you guys my pick to win it, and it's not really a surprise considering he is the odds-on favorite, and that is DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith was absolutely incredible this season. There wasn't anything that he didn't do well. He had 105 receptions for 1,641 yards, and he averaged 15.6 yards per reception with 20 touchdowns. I think the craziest thing about DeVonta Smith's season to me is when Jalen Waddle went down, he got more attention from defenses and his production only went up. This is a guy that absolutely answered the call, and his numbers are one thing, but if you go through the games and you watch the catches and you watch how he's affected these games, it's pretty easy to argue that he might be the best player currently on the Alabama roster. I know that there is some debate between he and Jalen Waddle, and a lot of that stems down to the freakish nature Jalen Waddle has, running just absolutely blazing fast speed. But what you can't argue is that DeVonta Smith has established himself as the premier receiver in college football right now because Jalen Waddle isn't healthy. And he is the best receiver on the best team ranking-wise, because Alabama's ranked number 1. I know Ohio State will have something to say about that, but ranking-wise, he is the number 1 receiver on the number 1 team in the nation, and he is the top receiver in the nation. There's only one argument I've heard, and it's from LSU fans that I disagree with. Have y'all ever heard something that you disagree with, but you understand where they're coming from? And that argument is, well, Jamar Chase had a better season last year, and he got nothing close to the recognition of a Heisman. My answer to that would be, yeah, but Joe Burrow won the Heisman last year, so you're kind of, damned if you do, damned if you don't in that situation. Like, sure, Jamar Chase had an incredible season, but if you don't give it to if you give it to Jamar Chase, you don't give it to Joe Burrow, and then that creates a whole nother juxtaposition of problems. And I just think that if you look at the 3 other guys, which we're about to get into, I think that they kind of muddy each other up. And I'll explain all of that. And I think it really clears for DeVonta to win. So, not only do I think DeVonta Smith is the best receiver in the nation, I think he's established himself as maybe the best football player on that team. I know Najee Harris has been incredible, Mac Jones. There's a lot of guys you could argue that have just been that guy. But DeVonta Smith is the guy that they have absolutely just, whenever a big play is needed, he has gone and made the play. From spectacular catches to punt returns. I mean, he has truly answered the call in every single facet. So let's talk about the other guys, because sure, I picked DeVonta Smith to win it, but what about Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, and Trevor Lawrence? Well, Kyle Trask fields the most yards in the nation at 4,200, the most touchdowns, I believe, at 43, and, he doesn't have too many interceptions. I think what hurts Kyle Trask is a few things. One, he has a 68.9 completion percentage, which isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, and he has a rating of 180. The problem is his average yards per attempt are 9.2. I know some of you are sitting there and y'all are thinking, what's the problem with any of this? The problem with all of that is when you're being compared to a guy in your own conference who's second in the nation in yards, second in the nation to touchdown, to Kyle Trask albeit, and that's Mac Jones. Sure, Mac Jones doesn't have the yards of Kyle Trask or the touchdowns, but he is absolutely spanking him in completion percentage and quarterback rating. Kyle Trask, like I said, has a 68 completion percentage. Mac Jones is sitting at a 77 completion percentage, and he has higher yards per attempt. He's doing it on less attempts. He's way more effective. He has thrown half the interceptions of Kyle Trask, and he's spanking his rating. Trask with a rating of 180, Mac Jones with a rating of 203. That's what's hurting Kyle Trask, and conversely, it's what also hurts Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence comes into this conversation with, I believe, 24 touchdowns, a rating of 160.9, and also 3,000 some yards. I mean, no season to sneeze at, for sure. But Trevor Lawrence, to me, is the furthest shot from winning the Heisman because his stats are not as good as Mac Jones or Kyle Trask. I mean, really, the completion percentage for Lawrence is better than Trask. The yards per attempt are about even, and the rating is much worse. He's sitting at a 160-something rating. So his rating is much worse than Mac Jones. His completion percentage isn't as much as Mac Jones. He doesn't have as many yards as Mac Jones. He has one more interception than Mac Jones, and he doesn't have as many touchdowns as Mac Jones. Mac Jones doesn't have as many yards as Trask. He doesn't have as many touchdowns as Trask. He has one less interception. He's got almost a 9-point percentage completion percentage. He's got more yards per attempt. He's more effective, and he's higher rated. That's what I mean when I say I think the quarterbacks are muddying each other up. Because I know a lot of people before this season started probably wanted to give it to Lawrence because he is the cachet guy, right? Like, he has been the unanimous number 1 overall pick for quite some time. And now that he's there, it feels weird not to give it to him because there are 2 other quarterbacks in the running. However, in my opinion, to give Trevor Lawrence the Heisman would be to play more onto cachet rather than actual on-field production. What I mean when I say that is because Trask and Mac Jones are both beating Trevor Lawrence in on-field production, if you give Lawrence the Heisman, it's simply because the name he carries into the conversation. Because he missed 2 games due to COVID, and certainly you cannot punish an athlete this year for missing games due to COVID, but conversely, you also cannot minimalize the 2 games that Kyle Trask or a Mac Jones played that Trevor Lawrence didn't. Those games mattered. They need to be counted. And, even if Lawrence played in those 2 games, he was only, I think, 30 attempts behind Mac Jones, 20 to 30 attempts behind Mac Jones and over 1,000 yards. So even if he would have played those 2 games, he wouldn't have caught Mac Jones in yards, touchdowns, or completion percentage, or quarterback rating. So even if he was on a completely full slate, he's still not statistically as good as the other quarterbacks in this running. Now, when I say he's not statistically as good, you guys get what I mean. I'm not saying as far as NFL. I'm saying as far as the production you put out this year, Trevor Lawrence actually has the worst numbers as far as all these quarterbacks are concerned. The other thing I think that hurts a guy like Kyle Trask is, once again we already said, having Mac Jones in your same conference when he's the second most in yards, second most in touchdowns. He's done it in less attempts than you. He's way more efficient than you. His rating is way higher than yours. He's more accurate than you, and his yards per attempt are higher, so if he had equal opportunity, he would be beating you in the category of yards. That really hurts Kyle Trask, not even to mention Mac Jones holds the head-to-head victory against Kyle Trask. So if I had to bet, it would be between DeVonta Smith and Mac Jones, but for the simple reason, I think that the quarterbacks are all going to muddy each other up. It will help DeVonta Smith stand out from the pack, and because of that, Alabama Crimson Tide fans, DeVonta Smith will be the 3rd Tide player to bring home the Heisman this evening. He was the AP Player of the Year, first wide receiver ever to do that, and he will look to join rarefied air, not only joining the Heisman Club, but being a receiver in the Heisman Club. Drop a comment down below to let me know who you guys are going to be picking picking to win the Heisman, or what you think. You know, any of these guys are absolutely deserving of the award. And even a guy like Justin Fields and Najee Harris, both of them I feel really bad for because I absolutely think that they both deserve to be on the stage as well. And I'm not meaning to cut the list short there. There are tons of guys who have had incredible seasons, but I think the general public could agree that those guys right there have been just absolutely on fire. So let me know what y'all think. Drop a comment down below and be sure to subscribe. Thank y'all so much for all the support and thank you for checking the video out. That's it. See ya.